Zakiya Begum, then other marhumeen, Sayyida Munazza Iftikhar, Sayyid Dilawar Abbas, and Sayyid Zawar Jaffri. So please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would now request Sayyid Muhammad Ja'fari to recite from the Holy Quran and commence today's Majlis. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. The ayahs that will be recited today will be from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayahs number 34 to 39. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين. وقلنا يا آدم اسكن أنت وزوجك الجنة وكلا منها رغدا حيث شئتما ولا تقربا هذه الشجرة فتكونا من الظالمين. فأزلهما الشيطان عنها فأخرجهما مما كانا فيه وقلنا اهبطوا بعضكم لبعض عدو ولكم في الأرض مستقر ومتاع إلى حين. فتلقى آدم من ربه فتلقى آدم من ربه كلمات فتاب عليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم. قلنا اهبطوا منها جميعا قلنا اهبطوا منها جميعا فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن تبع هداي فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. قلنا اهبطوا منها جميعا فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن تبع هداي فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. And when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, they prostrated, but not Iblis. He refused and acted arrogantly, and he was one of the faithless. We said, O Adam, dwell with your mate in paradise and eat thereof freely whensoever you wish, but do not approach this tree, lest you should be among the wrongdoers. Then Satan caused them to stumble from it, and he dislodged them from what state they were in. And we said, get down, being enemies of one another. On earth shall be your abode and sustenance for a time. Then Adam received certain words from his Lord, and he turned to them clemently. Indeed, he is the all-clement, the all-merciful. We said, get down from it altogether. Yet, should any guidance come to you from me, those who follow my guidance shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. But those who are faithless and deny our signs, they shall be the inmates of the fire, and they shall remain in it forever. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Ashra Muharram-1445, the tragedy of the martyrs. Because of her very significant contribution to the tragedy and preserving the tragedy of Karbala. So inshallah we will recite a salam in honor of Lady Zainab. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bari digar salawat. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Masjid, Sharikat al-Hussain. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Masjid, Sharikat al-Hussain. O our Lady Zainab, we offer unto you our condolences on your 72. O our Lady Zainab, we offer unto you our condolences on your 72. O no Muhammad, Qasim Akbar, Ghazi Asghar, and your brother Hussain. O no Muhammad, Qasim Akbar, Ghazi Asghar, and your brother Hussain. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Masjid, Sharikat al-Hussain. I am in shackles, they took my chadar, and on a spear is raised your head, O brother. I am in shackles, they took my chadar, and on a spear is raised your head, O brother. But faith is in my heart, Zainab will do her part to spread the message of Shahadatul Hussain. But faith is in my heart, Zainab will do her part to spread the message of Shahadatul Hussain. Please join us. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, the sermons that you gave, O daughter of Ali, in Kufa and defeated tyranny. The sermons that you gave, O daughter of Ali, in Kufa and Dimishq, defeated tyranny. Oh, little did they know the cursed Ashqiya. You took the Dhul-Fiqar بعد قتل Hussain. Oh, little did they know the cursed Ashriya. You took the Zulfiqar بعد قتل Hussain. Everyone. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Masayib,
Sharikatul Hussain.
How well did you reflect? How well did you protect the true image of your Nana Rasulullah? How well did you reflect? How well did you protect the true image of your Nana Rasulullah? Sadiq Adil, Alim Aqil, Sabir Shakir, مثل حسن حسين. صادق وعادل عالم وعاقل صابر شاكر مثل حسن حسين. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, المصائب شريكة الحسين. Oh, Our Lady Zainab, the standards that you set for patience and for grace, we shall never forget. Oh, Our Lady Zainab, the standards that you set for patience and for grace, we shall never forget. For we are the Shia, the fruit of your dua, who will forever say, Labbaika ya Hussain. For we are the Shia, the fruit of your dua, who will forever say, Labbaika ya Hussain. Please recite with us. Labbaika ya Hussain, Labbaika ya Hussain, Labbaika ya Hussain. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Masayib, Sharikat al-Hussain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bari digar salawat. Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, I will now request Hujjatul Islam, Moulana Syed Aqib Jaffry, to come to the minbar and recite the 5th Majlis in this series of 9 Majalis. Please stand, those who are here in honor of Maulana, on the topic of Karbala, the ultimate trial. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad.
For the marhumin of today's sponsor, Surah Al-Fatiha.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا وبالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون صلوات. The Holy Quran is a book of guidance, a book which was introduced by the Holy Prophet to his companions in these words. He said to them, فَإِذَا الْتَبَسَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْفِتَنُ, when trial overcomes you, when you're surrounded with trial, just like the darkness of the night, and you do not know what to do, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالْقُرْآنِ, turn to the Quran. The Quran is a source of guidance. It tells us how to live our lives. A book that was revealed to help us know how to live our lives. We have turned it into a book that is read when a person leaves this world. This is one of the injustices we have done with this book. It is a book of guidance. It is a book that tells you how to start your journey and what turns to take when you are at crossroads. Imagine you were supposed to go from point A to point B in your car and you had the GPS in front of you. When would you turn on that GPS? At the beginning of the journey or once you have finished your journey? You would turn on that GPS at the beginning of your journey so that you could know whether to take a right turn or a left turn. The Quran is the book which contains the map towards Jannah. And it is up to us when we open this book and seek guidance from it and ask from this book, what decision should I take at this point in my life? In the same very introduction of the Holy Quran, the Holy Prophet said, فَإِنَّهُ شَافِعٌ مُشَفَّعٌ. Turn to the Holy Quran. Why? Because it is an intercessor, it is ash-shafi, that is mushaffa', whose intercession is accepted. وَمَاحِلٌ مُصَدَّقٌ, and it is someone that is going to complain, and its complaint is also going to be accepted. This is what the Holy Quran is, the book that we have in front of our eyes, जिसकी शफाअत भी कबूल होती है और जिसकी शिकायत भी रद्द नहीं होती. This is the Holy Quran. And then he said, وَمَنْ جَعَلَهُ أَمَامَهُ, whoever puts the Holy Book in front of him, قَادَهُ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ, it will lead him to Jannah. وَمَنْ جَعْلَهُ خَلْفَهُ, and whoever puts the holy book behind him, سَاقَهُ إِلَى النَّارِ, it will push him into the hellfire. This is what the Holy Prophet, this is how the Holy Prophet has introduced this book, which again is going to be a source of trial for us. How we interact with this book is one of the trials, one of the tests we all have to go through, and we all are going through. In one of the traditions, the Holy Prophet said, what is with the moment who works in his shop? What is wrong with him that he does not recite a few verses of the Holy Quran when he comes back home before sleeping? The Holy Quran itself says that on the Day of Judgment, the Holy Prophet would say, Ya Rabbi inna qawmi ittakhazu hadha al-Qur'ana mahjura. My ummat has neglected, they migrated away from this Quran. Whoever puts it in front of him, it will take it to Jannah. And then pointing out to the beauties of this Quran, Zahiruhu hukmun. It has a zahir, it has a batin. The zahir of the Holy Quran is a hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa batinuhu ilmun. And the batin of it is knowledge. Zahiruhu anik, the zahir is mystifying. Wa batinuhu amiq, and its batin is deep. If you were to look and open the Holy Quran and read the verses of the Holy Quran, it very clearly mentions, not at one place, so many different places. It uses ibtala, linabluwannakum, liyablawani, nablukum. We are going to test you. Allah will test you. So that Allah is testing me whether I do shukr or I do kufr. Khalaqal mawta wal hayat liyablawakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. Fitna, you will be tested. So many verses that tells us how He will test us. Not only the test that we are going through test, but also how we will be tested. In the story of Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, Shaitan was tested through Adam alayhi salam. And we in this dunya are tested through other individuals. Just as Allah has His tools of testing us through blessings and through musibah, He also tests us through individuals. Yazid was tested through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam was tested through Yazid. Father is tested through his son. The story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And a son is tested through his father. Spouses are tested through each other. In-laws are tested through each other. When Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed to Adam all of his offspring till the day of Qiyamah. When he looked at them, he saw them as particles of dust spread in the universe. He noticed that some of his progeny members were bright, and some had a weak light. Some had no light at all. Some were big, and some were small. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the permission to ask a question. Allah granted him the permission. He asked a very important question. He said, I see diversity in my progeny. Some are tall, some are short, some are large, some are small. Some are sick, some are healthy, some are wealthy, some are poor. If you had created all of them alike, they would not be jealous of each other. If you had created all of them alike, they would not be jealous of each other. They would not transgress over each other. Have you ever felt jealousy because your neighbor has 2 eyes? Have you? Or he has 2 hands? No. But you might have felt jealousy if your neighbor had 2 cars, or a better house, or a better phone. Example, our youth clearly can associate them with. But you never feel jealousy over something that you also have. So if everybody had the same height, same size, same weight, same body color, same level of beauty, same wealth, They would not be jealous of each other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to him that there is wisdom behind my creation. And they disclosed that wisdom. And he said, I created you and your progeny without having any need for them. And then I created this dunya, and I created this akhirah, and I created Jannah, and I created the hellfire. لِيَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So that I could test which one of them does the best of the deeds. And that is why the tradition says, it's a hadith Qudsi, it says, لِذَلِكَ, and for that I created the Jannah and the Nar, the heavens and the hell, and the dunya and the akhirah, and my obedience and disobedience. And then he turned and answered the second question. He said, I have put diversity in my creation so that when the person who is sick, he looks at the person who is healthy, he will realize that Allah can bless me with health as well. So he'll raise his hands in prayer and ask me for health. And those who are healthy, when they will look at the sick, they will realize that this is a blessing of Allah for me, and they will raise their hands and do my shukr. And they will pray to Allah, to me, that I keep them in this state. Those who are rich, they will pray to me, they will raise their hands and offer my shukr. And those who are poor, they will raise their hands and ask me to bless them with a similar ni'mah. Those who are short, those who are tall, all this diversity, all these azdad, these opposites, they are there so that each and every individual is reminded of Allah, and they raise their hands for either shukr or sabr. And as a result, I will bless them with my thawab. So when you take your children out for a walk and they see diversity in this universe, and they see a handicapped person, there's a lesson to be taught to our children. Why Allah granted diversity in this dunya. We need to be thankful for the blessings that we have. And those who are deprived, they need to exercise sabr, for they are also going through a test. Once Iblis and Malaika were tested, and Hazrat Adam ﷺ and his wife lived for a limited time in the garden. And when the time came that they had to leave that garden, then Allah announced the reason why He was sending them down to earth. قُلْنَا اِحْبِطُوا, descend, go down, all of you. Addressing them, go down, all of you. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ مِنِّي هُدًى, if guidance comes to you from me, and it surely will, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Whoever follows my hidayat, my guidance, فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, there is no fear on him, and neither will he grieve. The purpose of sending them on the earth was that guidance is going to come, and whoever follows my guidance, they will be saved. That is why we are all here. That is the test. So the biggest and foremost test that we are all going through is the test of religion. This Quran is a test. The religion of Islam and all of its teachings, all of the commandments of Islam and the prohibitions of Islam are a test for all of us. Whether we follow the teachings of Islam because we like it, or we are following it because it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if we do not like it. We are being tested every day with the prohibition of riba, for example, with the permission of multiple marriages for men. How we interact, how we engage with this law of Allah is a test for us. The entire religion, how you deal with your wealth. Do you consider this wealth to be yours? or a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an amanat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yesterday we talked about zuhud and how one can exercise zuhud only if he considers this wealth to be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it depends whether you say mera mal, meri marzi, my wealth and my decision, or you get to a level where you say mera mal, khuda ki marzi, my wealth and his decisions. He decides. Even the Holy Quran says, yunfiquna mimma razaqnahum. They give from what we have given them. You're not giving your own money away. It is the money that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. You're spending it from what Allah has given you. He gave you something and He told you spend this here and spend this there. Yunfiquna. So my wealth and my decision, or my wealth and uski marzi. Or you could be at an even higher level and say uska mal, uski marzi. I feel sympathetic towards the females who have been a subject of abuse because of lots of slogans and even in the name of Islam. And you see a lot of movements these days where they want to free themselves from these abuses that have happened in the past. It is important that we all speak against the abuses, whether it is in the name of religion or in the name of humanity or in any other name. An injustice is an injustice. But it is important that we choose the right slogans for those movements. And it is also important to realize that our freedom and security from abuses will come only and only if we follow the principles and tenets of Islam. It cannot come from any other movement. It might temporarily appear that it is going to free us, but in the long run we will fall into an even greater and deeper pit. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Coming back to the reality of the Holy Quran that is before us, it is narrated that on the day of judgment, when Allah would gather everybody and the Mursaleen will be standing in one row and the Shuhada would be standing in one row and the Mu'mineen would be standing in one row, they will all notice a very beautiful creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala walking towards them. In a form of a human, in a form of an object that is so beautiful that they had never seen such a beautiful creature before. The Mu'mineen would see and say, Haza minna, he's from one of us. But it would be the Quran that is walking. The Quran will come towards them or near them and it will walk past by them till it reaches the rows of the Shuhada. The Shuhada will repeat a similar sentence. They will say, Hazal Quran, this is the Quran. But this Quran will not stop there. It will continue its walk till it reaches the row of the Mursaleen. And the Mursaleen will say, Hazal Quran, this is the Quran. Till it crosses them and reaches the row of the Malaika. And they repeat the same sentence. And this Quran will walk past them till it reaches the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it will stand on the right side of the Arsh. And at that point Allah will say, Wa izzati wa jalali wa irtifa'i makani, I swear by my izzat and by my honor and the loftiness of my station, la ukrimanna al-yawm man akramaka. Today I am going to honor whoever honored you. And I'm going to dishonor whoever dishonored you, referring to the Holy Quran. Whoever honors the Holy Quran, Allah is going to honor him on the day of judgment. Whoever dishonors the Holy Quran, Allah is going to dishonor them on the day of judgment. This Holy Quran tells us how we will be tested in this dunya through different ways. The verse that I started last year as well, and we were not able to finish it. When Shaitan was in the story of Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, when Shaitan was given whatever he wanted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he turned back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. I am going to come and deceive mankind from the front, from the back, from the right hand side, from the left hand side, and you are not going to find the majority of them to be shakir. Shaitan threatening Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is how I am going to deceive mankind, from the front, from the back, from the right, from the left. Very quickly I will pass on because part of it was repeated last year. What does it mean, deceiving from the front, or deceiving from the back, or from the right? Shaitan is our enemy, a very sharp enemy, a very professional enemy, a very trained enemy. How, look at his life, more than 6,000 years is the length of his worship, the duration of his worship. He's been there with every prophet of Allah and their nation and deceived them. He's after me and you, from the front, from the back, from the right, and from the left. Deceiving from the front, what does that mean? Who could tell other than those who are the divinely appointed interpreters of the Holy Quran? Our Imams. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, said that when Shaitan says that I'm going to deceive you from the front, he says, Uhawwinu alayhim amral akhirah. I'm going to make akhirat trivial for them. वो आखिरत को वो अहमियत नहीं देंगे. I will belittle akhirah for them. One of the tricks of shaitan and the way we will be tested. Deceiving from the back. آمرهم بجمع المال والبخل بها عن الحقوق. Shaitan says, I'm going to command them to gather wealth as much as they can and not pay the duties that Allah has levied on their wealth, till they will leave this for their inheritors. In other words, I'm going to glorify this dunya for them. Belittling akhirah and glorifying this dunya. This is a test we all have to go through. This is a test the companions of Imam Hussain had to go through. This is a test the Yazid's army had to go through. This is a test Umar ibn Saad had to go through. Why did he accept the command of the army when he knew the status of Imam Hussain? He was offered the kingdom of Ray. He knew the status of Imam Hussain. And when he came back, he asked for a single night to decide. He discussed this with his son. And he said, I am seeing myself between Jannah, between the heaven and hellfire. Either I can opt for Jannah or I can opt for this dunya. A decision he has to choose between Jannah, between this world and the next. He opted to choose this world. He was being tested. All in the army of Yazid were tested for akhirah or this dunya. We'll all be at these crossroads. Even the Imams were at crossroads. An interesting story from our books of Riwayat, where Harun al-Rashid sends a letter to Imam al-Musa al-Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. And there's also open spaces available, so if people can, there are spaces available, people can. No. So imagine the president or the prime minister sending you a letter and inviting you to come and visit. How easy is it to say no? So Harun Rashid sends a letter to Imam Musa al-Kazim ﷺ asking him to come and visit him. The Imam writes back. He says, Laysa, and he asks him this question in this manner, why is it that you do not visit me in the same manner that you visit other people? Why is it that you do not visit me in the same manner that you visit other people? The Imam writes back. He says, Laysa lana ma nakhafuka min ajale. I'm not involved in any activity for which I should fear you. When you meet people, there is a reason behind it. Either you want to gain their sympathy so that they don't take action against you. He says, Laysa lana ma nukhafuk min ajale. There's nothing that I'm involved in that I should fear you. Wala indaka min amril akhirah ma narjuka lahu. And you do not have anything of the akhirah for which I should come and meet you. There is nothing that I should fear you for, and you have nothing of the affair of akhirah that I should come and meet you. Your friendships have to be based on dunya and akhirah. Is your friendship based on amrul akhirah, or is it based on the amr of this dunya? Your decisions. And he continues. This statement is these 4 lines that the Imam wrote. The wealth of information in it. He says, Wala anta fi ni'matin fanuhanniyaka. Neither are you in a blessing that we should come and congratulate you. Jo khilafat mili hai tumhe, the khilafat that you have, the kingdom that you have, this is not a neema. This is not a blessing that I should come and congratulate you. Wala taraha niqmatan fanu'azzika. And neither do you look at it as a musibah that I should come and condole you. These kind of statements can only come from the Imam of the time. Okay? ना मैं किसी ऐसे काम में मुब्तला हूं कि जिसकी वजह से तुमने आके आपसे मिलूं, और ना ही आपके पास आखिरत की कोई ऐसी चीज है कि जिसकी खातिर आपसे आके मिलूं, ना ही आप किसी नेमत में हैं जिसकी मुबारकबाद देने के लिए आपके पास आऊं, और ना ही तुम इस खिलाफत को मुसीबत समझते हो कि मैं आके तस्लीयत पेश करूं. तो मुझे आपके साथ मिलकर क्या करना है? There is no match between me and you. He writes back. He says, at least advise me. मुझे नसीहत करें. The Imam writes back. He says, and again this is important, Man arada dunya la yansahuka. जो दुनिया का तलबगार होगा वो तुझे नसीहत नहीं करेगा. Whoever wants this dunya will not advise you. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ لَا يَسْبَحَكَ. और जो आखिरत को चाहता है वो तेरे साथ नहीं बैठेगा. So if somebody wants this dunya, why would he come to this person and advise him to be just and to fulfill the rights of others? जो दुनिया चाहता है वो तुझे नसीहत नहीं करेगा, और जो आखिरत चाहता है वो तेरे साथ नहीं बैठेगा. When he read this letter, he testified to the bartari and fazilat of the Imam by saying, Laqad mayyaza indi manazil an-nas. Verily, Imam, the Imam has made clear to me the status and levels of the people. He has clearly filtered and separated man yuridu dunya mimman yuridul akhirah. He has clearly separated for me those who want dunya and those who want akhirah. And he is not from one of those who wants this dunya. By looking at who is coming to visit him, he could tell that these are people who want the dunya from him. And those who are staying away from him, these are the people who want akhirah, who are after the akhirah. So we will be tested, we are tested, and we will succeed or fail based on the decisions we make in this dunya. That's why you see Nahjul Balagha full of statements condemning this dunya. The way you engage with this dunya, whether you are talib al-dunya or talib al-akhirah. It is the intention with which you engage in this dunya. One of the common mistakes we make, I'll explain that through this story. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, do you want 60,000 gold coins or 60,000 sheep or 60,000 phrases? क्या चाहिए? 60,000 दिनार या 60,000 goosefand या 60,000 kalamat? That is the test. The dunya or phrases, kalimat. The Imam says 60,000 kalimat. मुझे 60,000 kalimat चाहिए. The Holy Prophet said, I'm going to summarize 60,000 phrases in 6 phrases. 6 phrases, 60,000. So you open up each phrase, there's like 10,000 phrases behind each phrase hidden, if it's equally distributed. Imam ने कहा, रसूल खुदा ने मुझे 1000 बाब सिखाए. The Holy Prophet taught me 1,000 gates of knowledge, and from each gate I opened another 1,000 gates. 60, and each phrase might have 10,000 phrases hidden behind it. The first phrase, he says, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَشْتَغِلُونَ بِالْفَضَائِلِ فَاشْتَغِلْ أَنْتَ بِالْفَرَائِضِ. If you see people running after fazail and mustahabbat, you engage yourself with the wajibat. In a common mistake we make, the people of Medina made when Imam Hussain was leaving Medina or Makkah. People had engaged themselves with the Hajj, where there was a more important wajib for them to perform. वो काबा का तवाफ करते रहे, जबकि हकीकत काबा was leaving Mecca. And we make this mistake a lot, especially the mutadayyineen, the religious people. There's a story of an Arif whose name was Junaid. At the time of Bahlol, the students of this Arif, Junaid, used to tease Bahlol, and they pass comments regarding him, and he realized that the students do not know the reality of Bahlol. So one day he said to his students, let us go and meet Bahlol today. They all went and greeted Bahlol, and they greeted each other, and he said, we have come to learn from you. Teach us something. Bahlol responded, he said, okay, let me ask you a question. Do you know how to speak? So yes, the teacher said, yes, it's so simple. You start saying Bismillah, you end up with this state, and then you start with the Holy Quran, and he mentioned all the etiquettes of speaking. Bahlol turned to his students, what kind of a teacher have you chosen for yourself? He doesn't even know how to speak. And then he ran away. After a few days, they again decided to go and meet him. This time he asked, let me ask you a question. Do you know how to sleep? He said, yes, you do wuzu, and then you read these surahs, and then you sleep on your right hand side, or sleep facing the sky. So all the etiquettes of sleep, he mentioned those. He said, what kind of a teacher have you chosen for yourself? He doesn't even know how to sleep. Neither does he know how to speak, nor does he know how to sleep. And he ran away. The third time they again went to him, and this time he said, let me ask you a question. Do you know how to eat? He said, yes, you start with Bismillah, and then you chew the food, and you eat at this time, and then you do not take salt, and drink water at this time, and say Shukran lillah, after you've eating and read this dua. He said, what kind of teacher have you chosen? He doesn't even know how to eat. At that point, Junaid turned to him and he said, yes, you're right. I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to sleep. I don't know how to eat. You tell me. Then Junaid said, now that the student has admitted that he does not know, the teacher will teach. The acceptance that you do not know is preparing yourself to learn. And he said, when I asked you what you should say, you mentioned all the etiquettes, but you forgot to tell that you should only speak what is truth, and you should speak with the intention of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You forgot that, and you listed all the etiquettes. And when I asked you what to eat, you forgot that you should eat only what is permissible for you, what is halal for you. You mentioned all the etiquettes and forgot the faraiz. And when I asked you how you should sleep, again you mentioned all the etiquettes and forgot that if you're sleeping while you have hurt someone and you're sleeping with all these etiquettes will not benefit you. This was the Holy Prophet. When you see people engaging themselves with the mustahabat, you, Ya Ali, you engage yourself, alayhi salatu wasalam, you engage yourself with the faraiz. This distinction, and when we make these mistakes again and again, even during our functions of Aza, we forget the main objective behind holding these processions, and then we focus on issues that are not the main purpose, like what is distributed in tabarruk and other things, forgetting the real purpose behind. Or sometimes the metrics that we use to gauge the success of a majlis are not the right metrics. The second statement the Imam says, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ النَّاسِ يَشْتَغِلُونَ بِعَمَلِ الدُّنْيَا. When you see people engaging with the amal of this dunya, فَاشْتَغِلْ أَنْتَ بِعَمَلِ الْآخِرَةِ. When you see people engaging in the amal, in the actions of this dunya, you, Ya Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, you engage yourself in the amal of the akhirah. This is how shaitan is going to deceive us and make us fail the azmaish, the test that we are going through. When the holy Imam reached Karbala, on reaching Karbala, he stated this phrase, An-nasu abidud dunya. People are the servants of this dunya. وَالدِّينُ لَائِقٌ عَلَىٰ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. And religion is only on their lips. One of the reasons why people could not be with the Imam and they left the Imam throughout the journey. In the beginning, he started with a big caravan. It got bigger with time, but then eventually it started to shrink and dwindle. Why? An-nasu abidud dunya. People are the servants of this dunya. وَالدِّينُ لَائِقٌ عَلَىٰ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. And religion is on their lips only. فَإِذَا مُحِّسُوا بِالْبَلَىٰ. When they are tested with bala, قَلَّ الدَّيَّانُونَ. The religious people will be only few. He mentioned that, and it is narrated that whenever he would come down to camp at whatever station he was, he always reminded his companions of the disloyalty of this dunya and those who are after this dunya, because he knew that they will all be tested as things were going to get tougher. Dunya and akhirah. We are making these choices between dunya and akhirah every day in our lives. Imam, in one of the statements, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam says, he says, Sharrun nas man ba'a akhiratahu bidunyah. Sharrun nas, sharir tarir insan, the most wicked person is one who sells his akhirah for the sake of his dunya. He sells his akhirah for the sake of his dunya, like Umar Saad. He sold his akhirah. He gave up his akhirah for the sake of his dunya. The tradition doesn't stop here. It says, وَشَرٌّ مِّن ذَلِكَ, and even more wicked than this person, مَنْ بَاءَ آخِرَتَهُ لِدُنْيَا غَيْرِهِ. Even more wicked than this is the person who sells his akhirah for the dunya of someone else. What a loss. Like all those soldiers in the camp of Yazid who had sold off their akhirah for the dunya of Yazid and Umar Saad and Ibn Ziyad. The decisions we take in our daily lives, we will be tested. And one of the reasons the shaheed is not questioned in the grave, the tradition says, that Allah says, or the malaika says, that he has given the test under the sword. There is no need to test him again. उनका इम्तिहान इसी दुनिया में हो गया. Going through this test. The Imam is also going through this test. Even Karbala is one of the tests. If you look at the history of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah in the few days that are left, we might talk about some of the tests the previous prophets had to give and their nations had to give. You will find that all the tests that had happened in the past, you will find them in Karbala. The test of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, you'll find in Karbala in the most perfect sense. All other tests, the test of fear, emotional tests. We generally don't talk about these emotional tests that the Imam had to go through. It is said that Imam ﷺ on the day of Ashur and even throughout the journey, especially after reaching Karbala, he was also sensitive to the emotional needs of the children and the women and the companions. In such a state, generally we do not pay attention. We pay attention to the most important battles that we have to fight, not to these delicacies. But he knew he had to talk to the women, how he had to speak to his sister, how he has to speak and deal with the 4-year-old Sakina. He was sensitive towards how he has to deal and talk with the slaves that are with him. Baki logon ke kabile wale, other members, other shohada, they had their family members to mourn over them. But these slaves that were with the Imam, उनका कोई नहीं था. The Imam ही उनके वारिस थे. Al-Imam is the warisa man la warisa lahu. Who has no waris, Imam is their waris. तो वही उनके वारिस थे. उन्हीं को उन पे गिरिया करना था. And he fulfilled these emotional needs of the companions of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This shows the excellence of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Yesterday you heard that when John went to the battlefield and he fell, Imam came and lifted him up. And when he opened his eyes and he saw the Imam prayed for him. And hearing the prayers of the Imam, he smiled and he left this world smiling. My teacher was saying that agar unke warasa मौजूद होते करबला में और देख लेते कि इमाम किस तरह से इन शोहदा के बालीन पर पहुंचे हैं, इनके सरहाने पहुंचे हैं, तो इमाम से राजी हो जाते कि इमाम ने भी अपनी इमामत का हक अदा कर दिया. There's another slave by the name of Aslam bin Amr. He's a Turkish slave. When he falls in the battlefield, the Imam rushes to his body as well. The Imam lifts his body. ये तन्हा दूसरा शहीद है जनाब अली अकबर के बाद कि इमाम ने अपने रुखसार को उसके रुखसार पे रख दिया. ये बात आपको जनाब अली अकबर के अलावा और कहीं नहीं मिलेगी. इमाम ने अपने रुखसार को जनाब अली अकबर के रुखसार पे रखा या फिर इस तुर्क गुलाम के रुखसार पे रखा. हर शहीद, the treatment the Imam is giving to each and every shaheed depends on the level and status they were at. ये इमाम अपने इमामत के तकाज़ों को और अपने आजमाइश को पूरा कर रहे हैं. और जब इमाम ने अपने रुखसार को असलम के रुखसार पे रख दिया تو اسلم نے مسکراہٹ کے عالم میں مسکراتے ہوئے کہا کہ مجھ سے زیادہ اور خوش قسمت کون ہو سکتا ہے؟ Who can be more lucky than me, for the Imam has placed his chin on my chin. Sensitivity اس کا خیال ہے. He did not let the other companions into the battlefield easily. Even when Janab Qasim came to seek permission, you all know the Imam resisted. Till he brought the wasiyat, and then he could not stop. Even then, when Qasim ﷺ was leaving, it is said that this was the most difficult, one of the most difficult times. Imam hugged and embraced Hazrat Qasim, and they both started to cry. And they cried and cried and cried. And they sat down on the sand and they cried. One of the most difficult times. And I wonder کہ جب جناب زینب کے بچے اجازت لینے آئے ہوں گے, جب جناب عون و محمد اجازت لینے آئے ہوں گے, تو امام نے کن جملوں سے روکا ہوگا اور انہوں نے کن جملوں سے اصرار کیا ہوگا. The مقتل does not list any of this. You do not find in history how they sought permission and how the Imam stopped them. ہاں, مقتل میں اتنا لکھا ہے کہ جب عون و محمد کے لاشیں واپس آئے ہیں خیمے میں, تو جہاں امام حسین اپنی سینسٹیویٹیز کو ظاہر کر رہے ہیں, اس موقع پر ثانیہ زہرا نے اپنی سینسٹیویٹی کو ظاہر کیا. انہوں نے اپنے بھائی کے احساسات کا خیال رکھتے ہوئے کہیں اپنے خیمے سے باہر نہیں آئیں. جب جنازے آئے ہیں عون و محمد کے, تو ثانیہ زہرا اپنے خیمے کے اندر رہیں, ان کے خیمے کا پردہ نہیں اٹھا. دوسری بیبیاں لاشوں کے ارد گرد جمع ہو گئی, امام حسین کو پرسہ دے رہے ہیں. ثانیہ زہرا خیمے سے باہر نہیں آئیں, جانتی ہیں اگر باہر آؤں گی تو میرے مولا مجھے پرسہ دیں گے, میرے مولا مجھے پرسہ دیں گے. کہیں میرے بھائی کو یہ احساس نہ ہو جائے, کہیں وہ یہ محسوس نہ کرے کہ میری وجہ سے میری بہن کی نسل ختم ہو گئی, اس بنا پر وہ خیمے سے باہر ہی نہ آئیں. ثانیہ, جبکہ یہ وہی بہن ہے کہ جب جناب علی اکبر کی شہادت ہوتی ہے تو امام حسین سے پہلے علی اکبر کے جنازے پر پہنچ جاتی ہے, اپنے آپ کو جناب علی اکبر کے جنازے پر گرا دیتی ہے. کہ جب علی اکبر جوان بیٹے کے لاشے پر آئے تو اس سے پہلے کہ بیٹے پہ لاش کے جنازے پر لاش پڑے, مجھ زینب پہ نظر پڑ جائے, شاید مجھ بیٹے سے ان کی توجہ ہٹ کے میری طرف ہو جائے اور وہ شوق ان کو نہ ملے, وہ صدمہ ان کو نہ پہنچے. ہر شہید نے اپنے انداز سے امام سے اجازت چاہی ہے. کسی نے کوئی جملہ کہہ کر, کسی نے تعویذ لا کر, کسی نے وصیت دکھا کر, کسی نے یہ کہہ کر آپ نہیں چاہتے کہ مجھ جیسے غلام کا بدن آپ کے جیسے نورانی بدنوں کے ساتھ مقتل میں پڑا. لیکن مجھے ایک وہ شہید بھی یاد آ رہا ہے جس نے عجیب انداز میں اجازت چاہی ہے. مقتل نے اس کی شہادت یہاں سے شروع کی. کہتے ہیں کہ وہ وقت آیا کہ خیموں سے بیبیاں باہر نکل آئیں, ایک وقت وہ آیا کہ بچے خیموں سے باہر آ جاتے ہیں. غالباً یہ وہ وقت تھا جب میرے مولا زین سے زمین پہ آ چکے ہیں, زین سے زمین پر آ چکے ہیں, دشمن کے نرغے میں ہے. شاید ذوالجناح واپس آیا ہوگا, آ کر خبر دے رہا ہوگا کہ میرے مولا, میرے آقا اب میرے اوپر سوار نہیں رہے. بیبیاں خیمے سے نکلی ہیں. یہ چھوٹا سا بچہ ہے, عبداللہ ابن حسن اس کا نام ہے. 11 یا 12 سال کی عمر ہے. امام حسن علیہ السلام کا ایک اور بیٹا بھی کربلا میں شہید ہوا ہے جس کا نام ہے عبداللہ ابن حسن. یہ اس نے امام کو میدان کربلا میں تنہا دیکھا. امام حسین کو بھی اس حالت میں خیمے کی طرف نگاہیں ہیں, سمجھ گئے بیبیاں باہر آ گئی ہیں. ایک مرتبہ امام نے بیبیوں کو پکار کر کہا واپس خیمے میں چلی جاؤ. سب بیبیاں خیمے میں جانے لگیں. ثانیہ زہرا بھی خیمے میں جانے لگیں. ایک مرتبہ امام کی آواز آئی کہ بہن زینب عبداللہ کو بھی لے جائیے, کہ یہ بچہ احساسات کا غلبہ تھا, امام کی طرف دوڑا چلا جا رہا تھا, مقتل کی طرف دوڑا چلا جا رہا تھا. کہا بہن زینب عبداللہ کو بھی واپس لے جائیے. ثانیہ زہرا نے آگے بڑھ کے بچے کا ہاتھ تھام لیا.
اب بچے کو کھینچ کر خیمے کی طرف لے جا رہی ہے۔ بچے کو احساس ہو گیا کہ بہہ کے پھپھی زیادہ طاقتور ہے، مجھے خیمے میں لے جائیں گی۔ کہا پھپھی اماں خدا کی قسم میں اپنے چچا کو اکیلا نہیں چھوڑ سکتا۔ یہ انداز تھا جناب عبداللہ کا اجازت مانگنے کا۔ یہ جملہ سنا، ثانیہ زہرا نے بچے کا ہاتھ چھوڑ دیا۔ ثانیہ زہرا نے بچے کا ہاتھ چھوڑ دیا۔ پھپھی اماں خدا کی قسم میں اپنے چچا کو تنہا نہیں چھوڑ سکتا۔ ثانیہ زہرا سے رہا نہیں گیا۔ اب یہ بچہ دوڑتا ہوا مقتل میں پہنچا، اپنے آپ کو امام حسین کے اوپر گرا دیا، امام حسین کے اوپر گرا دیا۔ خدا جانے کیا راز و نیاز ہو رہا ہوگا، یہی کہہ رہا ہوگا کہ چچا جان اٹھیے، واپس خیمے میں چلیے، آج تک جو بھی صبح سے اب تک جو بھی مقتل میں آیا ہے واپس نہیں آیا۔ ہم بچے وعدہ کرتے ہیں اب التش التش کی صدائیں بلند نہیں کریں، ہم وعدہ کرتے ہیں التش التش کی صدائیں بلند نہیں ہوں گی۔ اب یہ گفتگو ہو رہی تھی کہ ایک ظالم تلوار کو نیام سے نکال کر امام کی طرف حرکت کرنا شروع کرتا ہے۔ جب اس بچے نے دیکھا کہ ظالم بے ادبی کرنا چاہتا ہے، اس نے تلوار چلائی۔ ادھر اس بچے نے اپنے دونوں ہاتھوں سے اپنے امام کی حفاظت کی کہ ایک مرتبہ بچے کے دونوں ہاتھ قلم ہو جاتے ہیں۔ اس بچے کی ایک چیخ بلند ہوتی ہے، یہ چیخ امام حسین نے بھی سنی، یہ چیخ ثانیہ زہرا نے بھی سنی۔ خدا جانے کس طرح سے اس چیخ کو برداشت کیا ہوگا۔ خدا کرتا کہ یہیں تک کا معاملہ ختم ہو جاتا، لیکن تاریخ میں لکھا ہے کہ اس ظالم نے پھر اس بچے کو اٹھایا اور امام اور ثانیہ زہرا کے سامنے اس بچے کا سر تن سے جدا کر دیا۔ لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین۔ ماتم حسین۔
جانم فدای زینب، 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 جانم فدای زینب. Everyone. جانم فدای زینب، جانم فدای زینب،
جانم فدای زینب، جانم فدای زینب.
O Anjuman-e-Mohammadi, O progeny of Ja'far, guarding above Abdullah, you were the sword of Haydar. O Anjuman-e-Mohammadi, O progeny of Ja'far, guarding above Abdullah, you were the sword of Haydar. We honor your shahadat in this Azai Zainab. لبیک بر زبانم، جانم فدای زینب، جانم فدای زینب، جانم
فدای زینب، جانم فدای زینب، جانم فدای زینب.
From Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, Bibi, you brought a revolution with your kalam, Bibi. From Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, Bibi, you brought a revolution with your kalam, Bibi. Hear the reverberations from that Sada Zainab. Labbaik bar zubanam, Janam fidai Zainab. Janam fidai Zainab. Janam fidai Zainab.
جانم فدای زینب جانم فدای زینب
Your piety and iman, your sheer determination, your courage and demeanor, truly an inspiration. Your piety and iman, your sheer determination, your courage and demeanor, truly
an inspiration.
at par with Anbiya is sabr aur rida Zainab. Labbaik bar zubanam, janam fidai Zainab. Janam fidai Zainab. Everyone.
جانم فدای زینب جانم فدای زینب جانم فدای زینب
Say no to every tyrant. Say La ilaha illallah. Say no to fear of dying. Remember inna lillah. Say no to every tyrant. Say La ilaha illallah. Say no to fear of dying. Remember inna lillah. Calling to truth and justice is still nida Zainab. Labbaik bar zubanam, janam fidai Zainab. 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 Iqra bi-ismi Rabbik. Read in the name of Allah. The indigent and hungry, feed in the name of Allah. Iqra bi-ismi Rabbik. Read in the name of Allah. The indigent and hungry, feed in the name of Allah. Knowledge and empathy are what signifies Zainab. Labbaik bar zubanam, janam fidai Zainab. Janam fidai Zainab. Janam fidai Zainab.
جانم فدای زینب جانم فدای زینب
Guarding the holy Rawdah, we are the Shia lions, facing the evil arrows. We are a wall of iron, guarding the holy Rawdah. We are the Shia lions, facing the evil arrows. We are a wall of iron. Until we die, we will shelter da Zainab, labbaik bar zubanam, janam fidai Zainab, janam fidai Zainab, janam fidai Zainab, janam fidai Zainab, janam fidai Zainab. We are the sword of Haydar, no army can defeat us. We are the plan of Zahra, no Lucifer can beat us. We are the sword of Haydar, no army can defeat us. We are the plan of Zahra, no Lucifer can beat us. Like oxygen we breathe in, Karbo balai Zainab, labbaik bar zubanam, janam fidai Zainab, 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 janam fidai Zainab. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll say. So, Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, we will have a brief answer session. And please make sure that your questions are pertinent to the Majlis. If you have put your questions in through, you can do it through the web on slido.com at Muharram 2023, but otherwise we can take questions from the audience live.
Answer a few questions online. Is it permissible to go to the graves of your loved ones on the first 12 days of Muharram? Yes, it is permissible. Second, any questions on? Yes, go ahead. Wa alaikum assalam. The story of who? It could be, they could be resembling some greater realities behind it, that is possible, but the way the Quran has narrated that story, from the apparent description of the Quran, it appears that it is an actual story. That is what the general view is, that it is an event that took place. And it is possible that, for example, the snake could be a symbol for some other reality behind it, or the apple was a symbol of some other reality behind it. For example, it was the level, the maqam imams and the maqam of the Ahlul Bayt, that you were not supposed to desire that in your heart, for example. But the way the story is narrated in the Quran and in the traditions, it appears that it is actually what actually happened. But you could find other views as well, but the mainstream view, this is what the mainstream view is, based on the zahir of the Quran. Any other question? Wa alaikum salam.
Could you please make recommendations of how we can interact with the Quran in our daily lives?
How can we interact with the Quran? Very good question. Recitation is the starting point, but we shouldn't. The purpose why the Quran was revealed is not that you should recite it and seek sawab. The purpose was you should recite it to seek guidance from it. That will only come when you understand the Quran. There are courses nowadays which enable you to learn the meanings of the Quran as you read it in Arabic, and they're not they're not extensive courses. For example, in 48 sessions, you are generally able to understand 80% of the Quran while you read it in Arabic, with only 80 in 48 sessions, which is like 48 90-minute sessions, which is 72 hours, 3 days. We all should make an effort to understand and learn the language of the Quran as well, Arabic. There are traditions which encourage us to learn the Quran, the language of the Quran, and engage with the Quran in Arabic language. And it's possible. There are courses out there. A lot of people are teaching it. Even I also teach those courses, and some of those courses are even online. You don't have to attend a physical location. You can join that class at from the comfort of your home. So with the tools that we have available today, the trial and exam becomes even more tougher because everything is at your fingerprint now. Everything is on your device now. And then we cannot complain that I can't go and attend, I don't have time. We spend so much time doing things on our devices that have no value. There's no return of investment of time. Whereas this Quran is there and it is going to be, we will be asked about it. There's a very beautiful statement from one of the Imams. He said, "Oh Allah, make me such that I engage in affairs regarding which you are going to ask me tomorrow." मुझे उन उमूर में अपने वक्त सर्फ करने की तौफीक अता फरमा जिसके बारे में कल तूने सवाल करना है. He's not going to ask whether you visited this website or you visited that website, but he will ask you about the Quran, but how he dealt with the Quran and my guidance. So we need to make an effort, and this is again a test for all of us. Wa alaikum salam.
My question is that Mr. Qudal, when he told the 6 phrases out of which Amir-e-Mohammadi Islam, out of which 2 you told today, both of them talk about a certain people. If you see people running toward Mustahabat, you run towards the Wajibat, and if you see people running towards the Dunya, then you run towards the Akhirah. Who are these people that Mr. Qudal is referring to? Are they talking about fellow Mu'mineen? Are they talking about Kafir? Who are they?
They are talking about the general public. For example, if you were to hold a majlis, don't hold a public majlis based on how others are holding majlis. Don't use those criteria when you invite your scholar, when you make arrangements. So don't look at what is generally being practiced and then go in line with that. Think and analyze and see what is it that Allah wants from you, what is it religion wants from you. Do that. Make your decision. Don't base your decisions on what is the cultural norm right now. So when you see people doing things a certain way, do not necessarily start doing it the same way. Go and do what is more wajib and what is your duty to do in that situation.
My question is, how do we retain in our hearts the spirit of the dars that is taught to us during Muharram? As the days pass after the soak ends, we tend to get on with our lives and the intensity of the teachings tends to fade away.
We need to stay connected with these sessions, with these majalis. And number one and number two, these majalis have only a limited function to perform. There are a lot of children and kids in this majalis, for example. It's very encouraging to see that. But remember, this 1 hour cannot impart all of the knowledge that they need. So the purpose of these majalis is to inspire in them and all of you the motivation to learn religion in a more structured manner. So once this ends, you need to make arrangements that you attend courses and you attend seminars and workshops where you learn religion in a more structured manner so that you can internalize it. Most of what happens in these majalis is an emotional push so that you are driven to learn and act on it. But it needs to be sustained through continuous attending majalis and the other means of learning knowledge. Do not limit yourself to majalis only because it is a limited platform with limited ability.
One final question from the gents. Is there any question from the
Hello, I have a tiny question that I've been thinking about the whole day. It's about how you control anger.
It's a little kid asking question about the anger. Who is angry at you? Oh, it's from here. Okay, please be seated. Please be seated. It's a difficult question to answer as the last question. We're also running out of time. There are descriptions in the books of akhlaq on how to control anger. It's based on what age you are. If you're at a little age or you're grown up, the way you value things. For example, if you value your tea set way more than you value relations, then if your child breaks this tea set, you will be mad at him and you will hurt him more than the damage that he has done. It depends on how much you love this dunya, number one, that will have an effect. And then there are also instructions in tradition. For example, if you're overcome with the anger, then change your posture. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. Go do wuzu. There are these instructions in the riwayat that help you control your anger. But the key point is that avoid getting angry, because once you're angry, the tradition says that anger is a branch of junoon. It's a branch of, how do you translate junoon? Pagalpan, madness. So once you're angry, then that person cannot be controlled. So either leave the scene or make an attempt not to get to that state. That's all I can say right now. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك السلام عليك وعلى أمك وأخيك السلام عليك وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولاي يا غريب الغرباء يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض طوس السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا الراضي بالقدر والقضاء ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك السلام عليك وعلى آبائك الطاهرين ورحمة الله وبركاته